I understand you're heading back to Monroe. Am I correct?
I'm headed back to Monroe. As you know, I work for all 5 of the Gannett papers in Louisiana, which is, I live in Monroe, but I'm all over the place.
Sure. Absolutely. So you went to the Baton Rouge Press Club forum today, and how was it?
Well, it was as expected. The first few minutes, the 3 candidates who were there, which is Lieutenant Governor Darden, a Republican, and Public Service Commissioner Angel, a Republican, and of course Representative John Bell Edwards, a Democrat, all took aim at Senator Vitter, a Republican, because he wasn't there. And of course, he hasn't been to enough of those to suit his opponents.
To suit his opponents. Okay, well, we'll get back to that. But in terms of the substance, I mean, was there anything, say, substantive that you thought was different from before, from the other forums that you saw?
Not completely. They did get to some policy, and it's hard. One thing they're always asked about is the freeing up of unlocking some of these dedicated funds, and which of the rebates or tax credits would they reduce or eliminate specifically. They all say that there's a need for both the unlocking of many of these dedicated funds and for reducing these tax credits and rebates, mostly toward industry, business and industry. But they're rarely very specific, and they weren't too specific today. They were asked for one specific rebate or credit. I believe Edwards and Angel said they would look at further reductions of the film tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay Darden said he would, if he had to name one, the horizontal drilling tax credit reduction or elimination of that. But they each said that it will take an examination of all the credits before they could be any more specific.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of a cop-out. I mean, at this point in time, I mean, at least I think it's a cop-out. At this point in time, they have a pretty good idea as to what they ought to. I mean, we talked about it for a couple months this spring. I mean, this is something, this area is sort of more controlled, but it's a lobbying emphasis issue. Who has the best lobbyist? Who's, it seems to me.
That's right. And each of these credits and each of the dedicated funds, that we're talking, I know talking about 2 separate things.
Sure.
Each of the credits or rebates or the dedicated funds have most of them have very large constituents. And so it's, they're hesitant to identify them, I think, as you said, is a cop-out because, that at this point, they're not willing to alienate any of those constituencies. That's just my
opinion. And mine, which is what I was trying to get to, but you said it so much better than me.
No, that's not good.
So, did anybody mention any of the new, say, ads that are running?
I'm sorry, Stephen. I am on the road. Repeat that for me.
Sure. Did anybody mention any of the new ads, TV or radio ads that are currently running?
They did. They talked about the ad from Senator Vitter's campaign that linked Angel to Obama and called Darden a liberal, and so they were hot on that topic right from the start. Senator Darden said that it was just both Darden and Angel said it was a sign that Senator Vitter fears that his candidacy is, or each of them said that Vitter fears that their candidacy is rising, and so he's turned more of these attack ads, and then Darden tried to separate himself as well from John Bell Edwards by saying, we don't see any attack ads on John Bell because he walked
Sure.
John Bell in the runoff. And of
Right.
course, conventional political wisdom is that Senator Vitter very much does need John Bell in the runoff, and conversely, that John Bell needs Senator Vitter to have a chance to win. Of course, I don't know if that's true. That's just what the pundits say.
Right, right. Now, speaking about what the pundits say and the polls, there is a new poll that is out. Let me just say this, that I normally do not mention polls that do not have full information, and this one doesn't have full information, and I think that, I want to disclaim, at least put a disclaimer on this poll, but it says new poll. This is from the Louisiana Rising PAC. Have you seen that?
That poll, and that is Vitter's poll. I mean Vitter's PAC, right?
No. That's Angel's PAC, and yeah,
Angel, that's right.
Yeah. Vitter's PAC is the Louisiana Funds for Louisiana's Future. So now this poll has Vitter at 24% and Angel at 21%. The poll, let me just get to right off, and it's on Louisiana RisingPAC.com, and it's under the title, Vitter turns to false negative attacks as his support collapses. And it says the race currently, and that's pretty much what you were saying, that they were saying.
Right.
Okay, so.
That's right.
Okay, so this is the first post-qualifying period poll. It has Vitter 24%, Angel 21%, Edwards 20%, Darden 10%, and 21% undecided, 4% minor candidates. So that poll, obviously, it should be said that, this is Super PAC supporting Scott Angel, and he's at 21% according to the poll. There's another poll that came out that was likewise, in my opinion, one that should be looked at very reluctantly, shall I say, and that's one that was put out by the Hayride. Didn't have any of the crosstabs. They never do show any crosstabs. So I personally don't put up any poll that doesn't have crosstabs. That we, yeah. Go on.
Well, I have over the years, I have written about polls. I have to admit, people like polls, readers do. But we made a decision early on. We hadn't written about any polls in this governor's race because my editors asked me what I thought, and the truth is, even somebody like me, even if I get crosstabs and demographic, all that stuff, I still really am not an expert on. So I never can, I never know whether I'm writing accurately about a poll, and I never know. Now, but readers like them, and I think, so it's. I'm not saying I won't write about them again. My sense is that the race is, maybe bunching up a little bit, but it's just a sense. I certainly can't say it definitively.
Sure.
What about yours?
Sure. Well, in terms of my opinion, I would say that, again, I don't believe any poll is really accurate right now. Obviously, it's a snapshot, even at the best, a snapshot at a particular point in time, subject to a lot of other issues. And I personally don't put up any poll at all that doesn't have crosstabs, and I will say that I've gotten Triumph's poll in the past and wouldn't put it up unless I got the crosstabs, and I did receive them, and so I did put it up. Likewise, Vern Kennedy, I requested crosstabs, and I got it the first time. Second time, no. So I don't put it up. Now, so I wouldn't put this one up either. But I'm just saying that it is there, and it should be, considered for what it is, and that is that it is a poll that it has been conducted on behalf of the Super PAC, and just like the internal polls, you got to consider for what it is, internal polls.
Right.
So having said that, and these are the polls that are out there, and to finish my thought about the other poll from, say, Hayrod, which had, I think, both Darden and Angela at 14%, not at 21%, but at 14%, Vitter at 31, and Edwards at 31. So that's, we're talking about a range, I think, of 14, I should say between Darden at 10 in terms of this poll and, say, Vitter and Edwards at 31%. Somewhere in between that, plus or minus, a couple of points here and there, are the true numbers, with maybe, Vitter and Edwards at the higher point, but with unquestionably Vitter having at least two times the money to spend. And I think
unlimited.
Yeah, and I think that's. I know that this is an opinion, but have you had an experience where? So I'll try to frame it in terms of a news question rather than editorial. But have you had any do you have any recollection as to one candidate having all the money in the world, not taking his or her, say, competition for credit, and giving them, paying attention to the election, but losing, even though they have all the money in the world? Do you recall anything like that in Louisiana?
I'm trying to think. I know that there are elections where maybe that has happened in other parts of the country, and maybe even Louisiana, but I can't discount unlimited resources. You just can't discount it when you can just saturate the airwaves and print and the flyers. Those flyers, those slim
Sure.
flyers you get in the mail, they cost, I think, I'm just talking about for a congressional district, because I covered one where I knew they cost like $25,000. So that's $150,000 state. So it's hard to discount that much money. I just got to be honest. It will be an uphill battle for anybody to overcome that.
Sure, I definitely agree, and that's why I think that the polls, even if they're a good snapshot in time, you've got to look at other factors such as the money factor. Based on what happened today, were there? What do you think was probably the most remarkable